Hey, welcome to the Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom. The Vikings did indeed get the Kenny Albert treatment on Sunday.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. What do you trust more, Justin School or Luke Inman's internet?
Hey, this is Arif Hasan from Wide Left Football. Which streamer will Jordan Addison learn his touchdown dance from?
Skol! It's the Vikings Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Vikings Squad Show starts now.
Hey, welcome into our Thursday Squad Show, streaming on Locked On Vikings, available on demand on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, where Luke Braun produces great daily Vikings content on Locked On Vikings. It's all part of the number one sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. We are excited because the Vikings have won 2 games in a row, and they play the New York Giants, and Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma get to narrate it for us.
All right.
Woo!
Okay.
Let's go.
Appointment television, baby.
In the holiday spirit, we're also going to get into how Vikings injuries truly have impacted their ceiling on this season. Plenty of Vikings-Giants storylines. And how would a 5-0 finish impact your opinion of the Vikings this offseason? I've been asking everybody that this week. I asked Arif and I asked Luke Braun today. But we dive in first to Vikings-Giants. This is an atrocious New York Giants defense. It is an abysmal New York Giants defense. Since week 7, the Giants have given up 31.5 points per game. They give up the most yards per carry on the ground in the NFL, 5.6 a pop. So why can't the Vikings hang a 41 donut in this game, Arif Hasan? Why not? Why not get revenge 25 years later?
Why not us?
Okay, who had under 2.5 minutes for a 41 donut reference? For the games?
Cash in your bets.
Cash the unders.
Yeah, I guess I have no reason to think that they wouldn't do that, except, I don't have the most faith in the world in the Vikings just generally. No, I mean, okay, so obviously we've had a little bit of discussion about how well J.J. McCarthy has been playing. We've had a lot of discussion about how you need to leverage the run game more, right? And given how bad this run defense is, because I believe it's like the last in the NFL in EPA per carry. And it's like the passing defense where they're better, where they're merely like 21st or something. The Vikings should put on a ton of points, but like that's kind of the concern, right? Now that we've raised the expectation to competence, we have such much more fertile ground for disappointment, I guess. It's kind of where I'm at. So like, yeah, they should. I'm always going to be a little bit hesitant.
I'm definitely hesitant. The Giants, unlike the Commanders and the Cowboys, the Giants have a pass rush. And even Abdul Carter is coming on a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dexter Lawrence hasn't been the same guy. I still
he's
fear
outstanding.
him.
I don't care. He's amazing.
Brian Burns, like they can get pressure in a way that the last couple of teams haven't been able to, and I am going to guess that we see a lot of backup O-line in this game anyways, because the whole O-line's been banged up, and a lot of veterans I think are going to sit now. Like I don't really expect to see Darisaw for the rest of the season. I would be surprised if they put him in. So like. That's the concern for me is I do think that there can be enough pressure that really disrupts the timing, and I think it creates a different test for McCarthy. Did we really fix this, or did we just keep him from ever being under pressure for 2 games, and he was able to kind of calmly go through a game plan? But when guys are bearing down on you a little bit more, is he going to revert to old habits? And I think there's definitely a chance that he does, and a chance that makes things fall apart, leads to turnovers, sacks, all kinds of bad stuff that we've been seeing all year.
Could be a school Brandel Juergens line. Could be. O'Neal has a shin issue, popped up on the injury report. Kelly has a knee, and of course Darrisaw has the chronic knee. Could be 2 or 3 guys out. Could be in shambles. As you mentioned, this might be the lone shining light of the Giants defense is that they've got Abdul Carter. They've got Brian Burns. They've got Dexter Lawrence, who was a monster last year. A little less monstrous this year, although I would argue the pass rushing part of it is still very, very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a big test, and I actually embrace it. If I'm the Vikings and if I'm JJ McCarthy, I want to see him get pressured. I want to see him make decisions. And whether he's going to have a million tipped balls, whether he's going to make back foot throws that sail and get picked off. I would actually like to see that progression and see if he's learned anything this year, because the pressure that did come in the Dallas game generally handled pretty nicely. You ratchet that up a little bit, turn that dial up to 11. How is he going to fare? Is he going to have some escapability to him like he did against Dallas? I think this could be a good challenge, especially when the secondary, like the other players on the field, might actually leave some openings for him to throw the ball.
Yeah, if you can't get open against like Cordell Flott, I feel like we should seriously reevaluate the receiver core and our assumptions about how good it is. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, having that test is going to be valuable. I am like a little bit concerned because there's always that, push and pull, right? Of like, how much duress do you put like a young player under versus like how much of that is going to create like long-term problems? Like, is he going to be traumatized like David Carr, right? Like the famous example. And, at some point, obviously, you just have to have pressure and he just has to deal with it. We have to, figure out and learn from it. So, like, there's only so much you can do before you're like, all right, well, you just got to go out there and play against, a good pass rush. But outside of that question, like, absolutely, I'm kind of curious about whether or not, he feels, if he can generate footwork, if he's dovetailing in the pocket against some pressure looks, if he can drift in the pocket appropriately or prevent inappropriate drift in the pocket, how he does climbing up in the pocket, because I feel like some of his throws moving forward, which is actually my issue with Carson Wentz earlier this year, is that when stepping up into the pocket against pressure, the change in footwork is dramatic enough that it's going to make the ball sail, right? And if he has the ability to kind of reduce that, I'm not just talking about like we've had this conversation forever about mechanics. I don't really care how he does it at this point. If you could just have the ball under control against pressure, that would be pretty nice, right? Like the Jordan Addison throw, for example, not perfect. Obviously, we've talked about that, but that was against pressure. That was kind of cool, right? So like seeing more functional throws against pressure is going to probably tell us a lot, to the extent that any one game can tell us about a quarterback.
Braun, did you see the? I know you're Twitterless these days. I don't know if you've got a burner or not. Did you see the Phil Mackey stat about JJ McCarthy is tied for the league lead in big time throws, which is usually a stat reserved for best of the best.
So was Jameis Winston, man.
Okay, so you can say it means nothing to you.
Yeah, that doesn't do a lot for me. I mean, he has had a bunch of really nice plays. What else happened though? I talk a lot about the whole body of work, especially with especially when we talk about O-line, because O-line does tend to get kind of judged on the 1 or 2 times they're on your screen and that they get highlighted, and you kind of have to look at the whole body of work. And this is probably the same thing. Those plays count; they're good. And I know with PFF's big time throw metric, that's very rarely misidentified as like a big play. Like that, those are good plays, and there's a lot of them. Sure. But a lot of those happened when they were, the 2 good plays amidst a disaster of a game, and they don't do a lot for you. But look, no matter how you slice it statistically, in the last 2 games, it's been very good. Even after you adjust for how bad those defenses are, even after you adjust for pressure and all that stuff, like it's good. So keep that up, and I care because those were good games wire to wire.
Yeah, I'll also say, so first of all, Marcus Mariota is 3rd in the statistic.
Nice.
Yeah, and
it's like a touchdown interception ratio, right? Like it. Yeah, I feel like big time throws and turnover worthy plays is like a better touchdown interception ratio, but suffers from the same thing where it's like,
we're looking at
okay,
a
that's
small
like
slice
10
of, like
plays.
yeah, we're looking at a small slice of data. Actually, what I prefer to do, honestly, is combine the two to get like a volatility index, because I think that's fun. It tells us like about the quarterback. So let me do that real quick. It's actually not going to be that hard, because I can guarantee you McCarthy obviously like leads in that. If he leads in one and is big in the other, which he is,
We're cooking up nerdy stats in real time.
yeah.
So his while you're I'll tap dance for you.
Got it. No,
so
I'm done.
under pressure, McCarthy has a big time throw rate of 7.9, which is 6th. That's very good.
Yeah.
His turnover worthy play rate under pressure, 6.4. That's 5th. We are in the Jameis zone, folks.
That's what I'm telling you.
Oh, we are in the
volatile.
Jameis zone. Wow.
Yeah, so
There's been the one a lot where like he's getting pressured from his right and he takes one step to the left. He kind of loses his base when he does that, which is, I think, the thing that you can maybe work on in the offseason that can make him more accurate there. But then he'll like heave a deep one falling away from it. And there was a big completion to, I think it was Addison in Detroit that it was that way. There was one last week that was that way. Like that's one that I remember a few examples of against pressure that turned into like a big heave downfield that worked out.
yeah, so number one in what I'll call, volatility rate or whatever it is, risk rate, where and by a significant margin. So he's at 11.8 when you combine like the percentages. The only person close to him is Mariota at 11.4. So not necessarily a great stat to lead in, but third, our boy Sam Darnold, and then you got Tua Tagovailoa, which is at Tua Tagovailoa is so interesting because that's not big plays, right? Like you just, and then it's Matthew Stafford, right? So like it is possible, right? But this tells us that these are quarterbacks that like to take risks, and I don't know that this is actually all that useful of a stat for us anymore because of the significant change in approach that we've had from McCarthy, from O'Connell, just from the offense in general, from the way that they've played over the past 2 games, right? Again, a lot of this is based off of the defense, but like think like there was 2 20+ yard throws against the Commanders. There's a little bit more against the Cowboys. But it was a much more conservative and careful game plan, especially the Commanders one. The Cowboys one, you had throws at all 3 levels of the field. But like it is just a different playing style we've seen over the past few games. So I don't even know how useful a statistic like this would be. I am encouraged, obviously, by what happened in the Commanders and Cowboys game. And I think the Cowboys game showed actual genuine progress over some of the issues I had with taking away just positives or figuring out how much was positive from the Commanders game. I think the Cowboys game resolved some of those. But
do you guys think that O'Connell really made meaningful change to the offense? Because the Commanders game, we said that.
Yeah.
You think he did? Because the Cowboys game seemed kind of back to being aggressive again. So did the Cowboys game reflect those same changes?
It's about complication. The Commanders game was interesting because they did shorten routes, and I don't remember like the staple concepts ran shorter and out of more like tight condensed formations. So the reads were smaller. You didn't have to go from sideline to sideline, and the throws were shorter too. So everything like compressed a lot, which worked great because the Commanders play a really soft zone. So that might have just been more of a game plan thing. But boy, that's an easier read with your eyes. I don't remember if it was the same in the Cowboys game. I didn't pay as much attention to it.
There were a bunch of condensed formations against the Cowboys. It creates an interesting route running problem for a lot of the receivers because it seems like the Vikings receivers just don't have as much practice running out of condensed formations because they're making interesting choices with regards to their leverage, and that's creating some problems. But it didn't matter. I mean, they whipped the Cowboys, right? But yeah, no, there were some changes, like a lot more in terms of condensed formations that we did see in the Cowboys game. The route depth in the Cowboys game, when you hit the top of the drop back, which is probably the most reasonable way to evaluate route depth. There's like changes because you can like hitch, all that. But was a bit deeper. But to Luke's point about like, because Braun has had an issue with the number of double moves that are in the offense when McCarthy is at quarterback, and that reduced really significantly in the Commanders game, and I think it also reduced pretty significantly in the Cowboys game as well, and that changes the timing a little bit. And I think that there was a lot more just in terms of intermediate and shallow routes. And one thing that I am confident of is that one of the reasons that we think it's easier, that it has been easier, not we think, it has been easier, has been an emphasis on the stuff that requires a little bit less in terms of cognitive load for the quarterback. That's why we're seeing so many intermediate outs, because that's a really easy throw to read. Sometimes, not forever, but like,
you're just reading a corner.
Right? Yeah. And so and the Vikings have good route runners. And so having that open and throwing that constantly is pretty significant. I was looking up this stat for Norse code. It was how many throws between 10 to 19 yards between the numbers does McCarthy have? And over the past 2 games, it's 1. He's had 1 attempt. The intermediate between the numbers, not between the hash marks, but between the numbers, which is a pretty significant. It's like 26 yards.
Yeah, it's like most of the field. Yeah.
Yeah. And the average in the NFL is about 11%. McCarthy is over the past 2 games, 2%, right? That's not like an enormous, like, he's not like this as a quarterback. Like, that's not me saying it's not like Russell Wilson, right? But rather that the game plan has avoided some of these really difficult, honestly, in the NFL, foundational throws that characterize a full offense. So we haven't seen a full offense yet, which to me is a sign of good coaching. They're finding ways to create production and avoid some of the biggest pitfalls, but we are going to need to see them before the season finishes, before we can say, hey, I'm so confident in this guy,
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, there's a comment in the chat from David Bresson about McCarthy's still having big-time throws even in a quote-unquote simplified offense. The take here is not that they went, Carson Wentz style, let's run all stick, let's run all curl flat, let's run all these boring concepts that are going to turn into 3-yard throws over and over and over again. There still was that aggression. They even did hit a double move in a huge spot with that 4th and 3 to Jalen Naylor, which kind of undermines my take about the double moves. Still less of them. They were doing it like 3 times a drive. It was insane. It didn't take the depth out of it. It didn't take away, like, these are still 15-yard outs. Like, these are still aggressive throws, but they just weren't as complicated, both mentally, but I also wanted to talk about the physical part of it, because when you have that, say, like a sluggo, you have to get to the top of your drop, shrug that, and then get to your read. And a lot of times that sluggo might not be the first read. So you might have to shrug it, read something else, then go back to it, all while marrying your feet and your eyes. So you have to step one way, step the other way, shrug, step the other way. Like, there's a lot physically that was going on. That's quite a bit to ask for a guy who, in just this last week, passed 1,000 dropbacks since high school, just in the Cowboys game. That is a threshold that most quarterbacks cross in college. So, like, the amount of experience versus the amount of complication in this offense was crazy mismatched, and they found a way, too little too late, to simplify things without turning it into, boring, flavorless oatmeal. And I think that is a nice change. I just kind of wish they could have figured that one out before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and well, it would have been nice if McCarthy didn't miss 6 games and that his 8th game was the 8th game of the season, and the Vikings would be 4-4 at the midway point, right in the mix. And I think that plays into our next segment, how injuries truly have impacted and derailed this season, up and down the roster, quarterback included. That's next on the Squad Show. We're brought to you today by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day. What are we going to get the in-laws for Christmas? I don't know. I still don't know. Being right can get you paid at Prize Picks, though. It's a nice little bonus. Miss any of the excitement, or don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether it's NFL, NBA, or both. You can cross over in your entry. There's no better time to jump in on the action. Takes less than 60 seconds to put one together. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. You can play just about anywhere in the United States. The stacks feature is a game changer. You can stack up stats on one player in a given game. Might be like points, rebounds, and assists for an NBA player, Anthony Edwards, once he gets back healthy. You also get an injury reboot. If a player's lost early in the game, that saves your lineup from a loss. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Rolling on the Vikings Squad Show. Check out Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun daily. The Locked On Vikings YouTube channel and podcast feed. So injuries played a massive role in this Vikings season. Here's where it stands now. McCarthy's missed 6. Jones has missed 4. CJ Ham missed 6. Jonathan Grenard will miss 5. Van Ginkel has missed 5. Cashman's missed 4. Okudah has missed 8 so far. Darrisaw's missed at least 4. Ryan Kelly's missed 7. You've rarely had your edge rushers together. You've rarely had your tackles together. And of course, your quarterback missed half the year and couldn't develop. So how do we feel like other than the quarterback's unreadiness, are injuries the biggest reason why this team could never get their footing? Because of the vital positional value they were missing on the field in most games?
I don't want to go that far. I understand that like some teams can be more injured than others, and that is like a reasonable thing to work with. But I think the foundation we should start from is every team suffers from injuries, and some of those teams make it to the Super Bowl, right? Like usually it is one of the healthier teams in the league that makes it to the Super Bowl. Like that is in issue, like that's something that we don't tend to discuss very often when it comes to, breaking down Super Bowl teams when it comes to that weekend. That is true. But there are a lot of teams that suffer significant injury and still advance pretty far and play better than the Vikings have, right? So I do want to say that. I don't think the Vikings are particularly more injured than a lot of others. Certainly not as injured as like the Chargers, right? It's really only along the offensive line that I feel like the Vikings have suffered significant injury beyond what you typically see for an, I believe they're second or third in total number of offensive line rotations or something like that. But I think like the edge rusher situation, now that Grenard is going to miss 5 games, that doesn't seem like, having missed Andrew Van Ginkel, that doesn't seem so much more dramatic than a lot of other teams. I mean, the Vikings are about to play against a team that was supposed to have Kayvon Thibodeau at some point this year. They're just not going to have him, right? The fact that they drafted another edge rusher like the Vikings did Dallas Turner has helped them, right? But like, the Vikings have been, aside from like Jeff Okudah, largely healthy in the defensive secondary. Harrison Smith was on a snap count rotation, but largely healthy, right? The linebacker situation was a little bit weird, and unfortunately Blake Cashman missed a couple of games, but that doesn't strike me as any different than a lot of other teams. So I wouldn't say injury is a primary reason that the Vikings have stumbled once you control for the quarterback play. But, certainly they haven't been healthier than the average team. I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, let's get Braun's take on that, and then we'll bring Ron in after Braun gives his 2 cents.
Yeah, well, they made that worse on themselves than I think it had to be, considering the luck that they got, which was, sure, it was bad in some places. And, I mean, injuries always matter, and they are always present. Like, it's just a thing that always happens, and it has to be part of your calculus. But, like, they bought into players with injury histories, and some of those injury histories showed up. They rushed several players back from injuries, had them play through those injuries, and either re-aggravated them in several different cases. Grenard is the most recent one, but Darrisaw has still been dealing with that knee that we're now well past a calendar year from, which is past a normal timeline. Brian O'Neill has been playing through injury. They have also ushered players back from injury before those injuries were fully healed, thus leading to more missed time. So I think, injuries mattered a lot. And I think the point you made right at the beginning, Sam, about like, wouldn't it be nice if this 4-4 JJ McCarthy run was, well, I mean, they were 4-4 at a point this year. But if they were 4-4 and we were past the disasters of the Atlanta and Lambeau games and those things that happened, and we felt like we were surging and we were 500 and we had that would all be great, and we can kind of extrapolate as much as possible. But in terms of, O-line injuries and defensive injuries and stuff that have affected the Vikings, I don't want to give them as much grace as I usually would for those injuries because they really took on extra injury risk in a couple of different ways. And it's like, you rolled those dice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that the most severe of the injuries, though, were the guys that came in with the red flags, right? Like that was Fries, that was Allen, that was Hargrave,
Ryan Kelly,
that was Isaiah Rodgers. Generally, like Kelly is the big one. Kelly did not stay healthy, missed half the games. But I think it was more your tackles and your edges, right? Like the guys that
right, which the tackles are the usher back from injury too fast guys. So that's three of your linemen that.
Well, hold on, like Christian Darrisaw came into the league, and let's not pretend not that was a crazy decision, but like Christian Darrisaw did come into the league injured. Like that was. We didn't have testing on him because he was hurt at Virginia Tech. And we actually had bad film on him because in some of the games, like the one against Miami, he looked soft because he was actually playing through tremendous injury. So that is an injury-prone guy. You need to be, to the extent that injury proneness is real. And then he suffered additional injuries once he entered the NFL. You need to be really aggressive, I think, about your backup offensive line strategy if you've got somebody like Christian Darrisaw. If you've
That's
got
the
somebody,
other thing.
Yeah,
Justin Schools, Sam Howell, these were inadequate plans.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. And you just don't have a lot of money to throw around at that stuff in the offseason. That's a huge challenge as we bring in Ron Johnson at 3 Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show, joins us each Thursday. Ron, we are going to ask you about injuries, about how they've overall impacted the Vikings this year. But I want to start here because I want to make a splash. Are you giving up whatever it takes to get Joe Burrow if Joe Burrow is available?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go here.
Am I giving up whatever it takes? No, not whatever it takes, because I feel like it's going to require like 2 to 3 first-round picks.
Addison and 3 firsts.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. Because then what are you doing with McCarthy? Is he Joe Burrow's backup for the next 10 years?
Yeah, Jordan Love him. It's fine. He's Jordan Love.
No, you take one of the firsts out of there. You send McCarthy the other way. Now he's the
give McCarthy to Cincinnati. There you go.
Cincy and Addison for a first or 2 firsts for Burrow with Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, Hawkinson. Man, that's a tough one.
How would you not be excited about that, Ron?
That's a tough one. But
yeah,
you're basically leveraging.
We'd all be flying.
Yeah, you're leveraging though and saying, okay, we know we got to pay this guy $300 million. So all the other pieces you need to add are pretty much because the whole formula is rookie quarterback, go try to win a Super Bowl, or rookie quarterback contract. Sorry. The other formula is, well, if you pay him like Mahomes, you really got to have an efficient offense and a quarterback that can run the offense with whoever is in the offense. And so that's a tough one for me. I would say, in year 1 or 2, but then you're basically, if you don't win it, you're screwed because you're not going to have any money to build anything else around them. Like you're basically, because with him and Justin Jefferson and Kirsten Darrisaw, your money's gone.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot on offense. It's a lot of money on offense. You'd have him for 4 years. You would have to squeeze him in the cap next year, and then you could probably make it work from that point on. Quickly from Arif and Braun on this, because I didn't tell you guys I was going to ask it. Would love to hear your thoughts.
I've been really annoying about this, and I will continue to be annoying about this because Bengals fans deserve it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really about the merits of the take. It's about specifically annoying Bengals fans who were in my mentions for like 2 years about Justin Jefferson getting traded because he wants to reunite with Joe Burrow, and they were right. Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson will reunite, just not in the way you thought.
I do think it's funny that given how disastrous the Vikings O-line situation has been all year, that Joe Burrow would find a way to get on a team that actually led to an upgrade in his offensive line situation. That is hilarious. No, I would be ecstatic about it. And I think that, obviously, depending on how you handle McCarthy, but like, to me, that's not a consideration. I do not care. I am so interested and curious about the direction of McCarthy's development. I don't think he's a lost cause, especially after these last 2 games. But that just doesn't enter into the equation for me, right? Like, who cares? It's Joe Burrow, right? Like, obviously,
he's an all-pro quality quarterback. Just go get him.
Yeah, like obviously you have to be concerned about like his injury resilience, but hey, you got a McCarthy as your backup, right? Don't worry about that. But like, having an MVP quality quarterback is so difficult and it's so rare. And just do it. Just do it. I don't care. You had your chance when Lamar Jackson was technically on the market for kind of, and then you missed it like everyone else did. Go get him. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think Joe Burrow is genuinely in the market. But if he is, go get him.
This would fall along the lines of, to all my Wild fans watching, this would be the Quinn Hughes trade mindset. A player of that caliber is just not available ever. So if they are, you have to be interested. You have to be. You're obligated to. Ron, we were talking about injuries and how just the breadth of the injuries have affected this season. Because you had a quarterback that missed 6 games himself, but when he was on the field, you're dealing with edge injuries to Grenard and Van Ginkel. You've now lost Metellus for the final 3 games. You're starting tackles. When they did play, they had bad knees. I mean, when you look at just the season as a whole, did it ever feel like the Vikings could really meet their potential?
No, not with the injuries. Like the minute the injuries started coming in the masses, when I think at one point there was like 17 guys on the injury list or IR. At that point, you kind of felt like it's going to take a miracle, because the whole purpose was buy low, sell high, meaning you're bringing in a lot of veteran guys. You have a lot of guys coming back from injury, and your goal is to get in low and then hopefully maximize their ability, and you just weren't able to. I mean, due to injury, due to Darisaul's pitch count, J.J. McCarthy's injury, Jonathan Gennard's injury, Metellus' injury, Theo Jackson's injury, Fries, Kelly, O'Neal, like Donovan Jackson, like Aaron Jones, it just goes on and on and on. And at that point, you're just kind of like, you know what? It is what it is. This is where, Blake Cashman was out with the hamstring. So it sucks. But injuries are a nature of the beast. But when you're that, I guess, veteran, I'm not gonna say old, but when you have that many veterans, and you don't have a lot of like youthful backups and true potential behind those guys, because you're kind of betting on those starters to be your guys, and then you're just like hoping it works out. It didn't work out. Like, they still have a chance to finish 9-8, which is nuts to say. It feels like a Mike Tomlin type of year, where Mike Tomlin never has a bad year, where they're going to find a way to just win.
Finding their way back to 500.
Yeah, and they'll be 9-8, at the end, or they'll be 8-8 at the end with the Packers game, and then you're like, he has a chance to go out here and win the last game to be 9-8 and make it look like, when you look back on his resume, they'll look at this year just from the record. Oh, he was 9-8 and he had a rookie quarterback.
So many winning seasons in a row.
Yep. Yeah. But you're not going to see the true story unless you're a historian and you had to suffer through this season. But yeah, I think the injuries are a big part of it. The other part of it too, though. So I tweeted and thanked Kirk Cousins, because for like weeks. Yeah, for weeks I've been saying pure progression is basically regression. And I don't know why they called it pure progression, but now I know why. And that's why I thank Kirk Cousins, because he explained what Kevin O'Connell was trying to do with him. And it's still reprogression. Like, I don't know why they want to make it a sexy name and call it something different. Like, I get pure progression means you're going from 1 to 5. But here's the point of this, and this is why, I feel like even this season made it tougher for a guy like J.J. McCarthy. You're eliminating 2 receivers based off the coverage right away. So you're still going 1, 2, 3. Like, I don't know why, like Kirk Cousins would say, I would deal with half the field at pre-snap, so I know where I'm going. But the waters were muddied and coverages were different, and they're going split coverage now. And so I got to, like, at the snap, maybe wait and then eliminate the guy. So I get that side of it, but it's still just progression reads. Like, you're just still going through your reads. You just eliminate 2 guys sooner because you quickly figure out the coverage. That's the problem. I think early on, J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer were struggling with split coverage. So once they figure that out, I think this pure progression thing is going to get better, which means you're going to need an offensive line. Like Kirk Cousins said, you need an offensive line to do pure progression. So if you don't have the guys, it doesn't work, because you don't have 3 seconds. So again, standing on my soapbox for this, it's just reprogression. But you need the offensive line to make it work. If you don't have the offensive line, you got to go 3-step and get the ball out your hands quick.
Arif, what do you got?
I'm just kind of curious about what you think we can learn about McCarthy in the final couple of games, especially because we don't have a ton of great defenses. The ones we do have like an injured Micah Parsons, right? And so it's not, it's not the cleanest evaluation, and it's only a couple of games. But like, what is it that you think we can learn?
Oh man, I hate to use this word, but if he can read pure progressions, I think that's what we're gonna.
Got him.
I mean, honestly, that's what we're gonna find out. Because again, now it makes I can't wait for Sunday because I got the film from the Vikings yesterday because they're going to New York early. I think me and Sam talked about this, maybe not on air but off air. Vikings are going not all the Vikings. Some of the Vikings are going out early to do some stuff. Can't say what it is, but for Vikings.com, and so I had to speed up or expedite my process because I don't have till Thursday and Friday to get it done because they're leaving today. They're leaving on Thursday to go hang out in New York. Oh, good for you.
Good for you.
But when I look at the film and I understand what I'm seeing, and I keep saying Mac Jones in my head. It's not Mac Jones anymore. It's Drake May. But when I see Drake May go through his progressions, like he's doing that. He's eliminating. I have 2 plays that are both the Patriots, and I'm going to go through pure progressions for people on TV and just kind of walk you through pure progression because all 5 guys have a route. But you eliminate 2 with 2 high. So, I think Peyton Manning talked about it on the video. And there's another quarterback that got on the video recently and talked about, eliminating, Eli, eliminating the 2 guys based off coverage. But here's the problem with the coverages now. Defensive coordinators are sickos. It used to be coverages made sense. 2, 4, okay, 6. Let's cover 6. But now it's like man and 4. Like, what is that? 5? Like, it's just it's press man and 4. It's 3 and press man. It really doesn't make sense. But I get the Kirk Cousins saying muddy. The defensive coordinators are muddying the coverage on purpose. Like they want you to be a little bit confused, and they're praying their defenders understand what they're doing. And that's why, I think, Sam, I told you this. We I couldn't say who. I can say who now. But Theo Jackson early in the year told me, when they looked at the Brian Flores stuff, and I think Josh Metellus was on our show and said it too, but, and Theo said he couldn't tell us, but now I can tell you what it is. It's that. It's going 4 in man, and then it's going 3 in man. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How are we doing this? Like, how is this cover 3 over here, 1/3, 2/3, and then here is just flat out man coverage. And it doesn't make sense because now if I have a deep over and I have a shallow, that whole third over there is just open. And again, it's up to a quarterback to figure it out. It's up for a coordinator to call perfect plays based off perfect coverages. And if you don't have Connor Stallions telling you what the coverage is before the snap, you don't really understand what you're going to get. And so you have to eliminate. I mean, it's true. Like, it's so true.
Another guy who made a video about McCarthy and his
he
progressions.
did. But he also didn't talk about the fact that he was wearing Central Michigan gear sitting on the sideline of the Central Michigan game.
That was notably missing from his video on J.J. McCarthy. That's
and here's the funny thing, right? Who was one of the coaches at Central Michigan before?
With
PJ.
No.
Oh.
He's on the Michigan staff.
Like, hey.
Was he what? Was that Western Michigan? PJ was Western.
PJ was Western.
He wasn't
Central Michigan was Sharon Moore.
Oh gosh.
Sharon Moore was a Central Michigan guy. So there's a connection to Connor Stallions, Central Michigan, and Sharon Moore. But anyway, the whole point of J.J. McCarthy, what he has to learn, he's going to have to learn how to read that stuff. Like, can he read it quick enough? And I think that's what we want to see in these last 3 games. Like the Giants, number 22, when he plays, like, I don't know if he's playing like nickel robber, if he's just playing the flat or what. He has no idea who he's supposed to cover half the time. Like, he is literally lost in a lot of the plays. Tyler Nubin's still playing well. But the Giants have some huge deficiencies. They don't want to come downhill and tackle. So J.J. McCarthy has to, like, see that on second down. Second down is their worst down for the Giants. If the Vikings can be really, really good on second down, we'll see that. And then you fast forward to the Lions. Can he get through the pass rush and get rid of the ball? And then the Packers, I mean, they don't have Micah Parsons anymore. So, I mean, this is shaping up for J.J. McCarthy to look really good down the stretch.
Yeah, let's sneak in a very quick pause, get to Braun's question, couple more for Ron. And I wanted to share my bit from yesterday's show, Arif and Luke, the new scapegoat for all problems that J.J. McCarthy has encountered this year. It's his college offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore. Clearly, any blame
Totally exonerated.
It goes
No
to
wrongdoing.
Sharon. Send it his way to the low-hanging fruit. More with Ron Johnson next. All right, speedy pause there. Back with Ron Johnson at 3. Ron Johnson.
It's a
Luke
Jalen
Braun
Naylor
is-
pause.
Jalen Naylor pause. So this offseason, we're going to have a lot of tough questions about guys on big contracts and stuff. And I think one of those questions is about TJ Hawkinson. Big part of that is if you do get rid of TJ Hawkinson, what happens at tight end? So the question is, can Josh Oliver be a tight end 1? He's playing hot. He's playing well.
No, he is, but no.
Nope.
No.
And I'm not saying it like the when I think of tight end 1, like if this was a 49ers offense, I'd say yes. Like meaning you're going to be attached, you're going to block, you're going to play action, you're going to release, you're going to run routes from the attached. The Vikings tight end 1, they want him to be detached a decent amount of time and run true seam routes. I don't know where the 2 tight ends for Oregon are going to fall, but if you have a chance to get one of those guys in like a 2nd or 3rd round, I'm going after one of those 2. They are really, really good. I don't know if you guys watched the Gophers game, but they are in any game. But they are really good. They stretch the field. They get down 40 yards down the field on seam routes, 30 yards down the field. They're making diving catches. They're making above-the-head catches. One's like 6'5", the other 6'3", but both true receiving tight ends. And granted, Dante Moore is really good with the Ducks. But I would say if you don't bring TJ Hawkinson back to let that money go, you have to be confident that you can get one of those 2 guys in the draft. I'm pretty sure there's like, I'm going to go through some other tight ends, but those are guys I've watched this season live and they are really good. Like their size, they both block, they both run after the catch. So I would go that route to pair with the Josh Oliver because I don't think Josh Oliver is a great detached tight end. I think he's a really good attached tight end. I think he's a great blocker. I think he's a good motion guy to the backfield running routes. But like truly like going out wide, what I think Hawkinson should be doing, and the Vikings never went to it. I don't know if it's like he's not 100% after that ACL, completely reconstructed knee. But what I thought we were going to get out of him was more Gronkish stuff. Line him up in the slot, in the red zone, line him up out wide in the red zone, take the matchup. Have we seen one fade route in the red zone to TJ Hawkinson this year? From the outside?
Definitely not the Rudolph type throws we saw a lot. They don't throw him jump balls. You're very correct about that.
So that's what I like. And again, if you're 6'5", I don't understand the purpose. Like I've watched Travis Kelce. I've definitely watched old Gronk stuff. But when you watch Travis Kelce, when you watch George Kittle, when you watch those type of tight ends, when you watch, Warren, with the Colts, they utilize their tight end. I feel like the Vikings I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know with pure progression reads, the routes you're running are 2 different type of routes, and you're trying to attack 2 different coverages within the same route tree, which that even is kind of weird. But now it makes sense to why I'm like, why are these such long development routes? It's because there's 2 type of routes within the same route. So there's a cover 2 route, maybe 2 of them, and then there's maybe man or cover 3 routes. And so if you have 4 guys, 2 guys are going to be the man guys, 2 guys are going to be the 2 guys, and then you're just trying to hope the coverage is right based off one of those guys. If they do something you're not expecting, which is flat out man like trap or something, that's when you see quarterbacks like, oh crap, I have nobody, and they take off running or they have to do the gritty. But that's where I'd say, like with Kevin O'Connell with the tight end, he hasn't used TJ Hawkinson like I thought he would this year.
Mm-hmm. Ron, in closing, I don't know if we'll connect with you before the Christmas game against Detroit. Why don't you just look into your crystal ball? I know you're wearing the Grinch shirt right now for those on YouTube. Will the Vikings play the Grinch role and steal Christmas from the Lions on Christmas Day? And then with the Packers game following that, give us a win-loss prediction for the final 3 Vikings games.
So they beat the Giants. I think they can beat the Lions at home. I do. I think home is going to help them out. And the Packers at home, that game might not matter to the Packers. So they might not play guys. So the Vikings might just get the win just because the Packers are like resting guys, unless the Packers are playing for like a higher seed. But I feel like at this point, the Bears have clinched or are going to clinch the North. So if the Packers can't jump, like if the Packers like we're stuck at 6, it doesn't matter who plays, then I think the Vikings get a cheap win there. So I kind of feel like they're going to go 3-0 based off how the playoff picture is going to look. But again, if they beat the Lions, so I think the Vikings can help themselves. If they beat the Lions, I think they solidify that the Packers are ahead of the Lions. So that's the other side of that coin is it's going to come down to these last games for everybody.
Yeah,
So-
beating the Lions could actually help you beat the Packers too, because the Packers may
won't
have
care.
less
Yeah, they're gonna
less
be
to
like,
play
oh,
for.
we're in it. We don't have.
I
anything to
hope
worry
it does
about.
mean something. I would actually love if it meant something for the Packers. It would enhance the game so much more.
Is there a chance the Packers could get knocked out the playoffs by the Vikings? Like, would they have to lose the next 2?
Oh, they certainly could.
Probably. They
Yeah.
probably need to get to 11 wins, and right now they're at 9, maybe 10, because they
Yeah.
have that sneaky tie in there that would help them. But
They're in the 7th seed right now, so yeah, they're definitely on the
So they
Rich's
could
edge.
Vikings could spoil their season as well. So that could be fun.
there's a lot
That sounds
of
very
10,
exciting.
11 win wild card teams, so it's going
That
to
would
be a
be
very tight wild card
sweet.
race for whoever's in the bottom of the or whoever's not in the lead of the NFC North.
Ron, Merry Christmas. I know you're wearing the Grinch shirt. You're feeling festive. We love having you. Thanks a lot.
I think the only other Grinch the Vikings could play is the Grinch of their fans. Like, they're gonna, if they lose so bad, kids are gonna cry Christmas night and not want to eat dinner when they get home. Like, could be that. It could be that type of night.
Vikings ruined a lot of holidays in 2004. They lost on a last-second field goal to the Packers and lost the division.
Listen to that game in
34-31.
church.
I will never forget that, and it ruined a lot of holidays for people. Myself.
Is that why you don't watch movies now, Sam? Because you hate
Scarred.
the endings.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. I just don't want to have my heart broken.
It's like, I'm not watching Die Hard because I feel like it's gonna break my heart.
Appreciate it, Ron. At
No,
3
thank
Ron
you.
Johnson. Thanks a lot. Before we hit our next break, I want to ask you the same question I asked Ron yesterday on the show. 5-0 finish, 9-8 record, 7-4 McCarthy record, with all the momentum in the world heading into the offseason. Does he dodge the dreaded training camp competition? I say yes. I say yes. He takes they're still bringing in the veteran backup. Make no mistake. But McCarthy takes every first team rep. I think that avoids it for him, unless it's Burrow, in which case all bets are off.
I would say that my prediction would be that he does, right? That would be what I would figure would happen, that he dodges a competition. My recommendation would not change, though. I would recommend a competition. And it depends on like how well he does in those, like all of these things kind of matter contextually to what they are. But I've found even for young quarterbacks that second half of season improvement doesn't tell us more than the whole season of play does. And that if you improve in the second half of the season, it can often be a red herring for the quality of quarterback that you are. Now, this is just from a production standpoint. I haven't looked at it from I haven't looked at every single rookie or second year quarterback that improved on film independent of production since then, right? I have looked at like PFF grades. I've looked at yards per attempt and EPA per dropback and stuff like that. And a second half bump can often be seductive for teams, but it can be misleading, and you can overestimate the quality of your quarterback based off of that. The good news is, of course, a second half slump is the same thing, right? So it's really about the whole season of play when you're evaluating how well your quarterback did for the purposes of determining what you're going to do with that quarterback. And so I would hope that if he has a second half bump in play, that the Vikings see that, are encouraged by that, and then challenge him further by bringing in more genuine competition.
Ron?
Yeah, I think just winning those games, like you can play really bad and win those games, right? So I think really the crux of the question is if McCarthy keeps up what he did in the last couple, which is fantastic, right? It's not just good; it's very good. It's top 5. And so if he can string together 5 games like that, yeah, I think I'm with the Reef where they'll go, oh, okay, cool. Well, let's maybe be a little more serious about backup QB. But, there's a healthy middle ground between Sam Howell and we're going to cut him and scramble for whoever's on the market, or versus, bringing in Tua Tagovailoa and saying, let's have a competition. Like there's a middle ground in those things. But I think I get the statistical thing. I remember that Jordan Love piece that was basically that and Jordan Love has basically had that season every year.
No, and it has played out.
Yeah, where that just is who he is, where he gets to slow starts, but then he gets hot at Toyotathon, right? I can't get out of my head the 2008 Packers. That was Aaron Rodgers' first year. They missed the playoffs that year. It was up and down. But they ended that year on like a 6-game winning streak. And Aaron Rodgers looked awesome. And it had become impossible to deny what he was going to become. And there was a vibe to that that's like atypical of like, it's not Bryce Young getting hot at the end of 2024 in what was otherwise a lost season. Like there's a difference between those things. So I think that we can hopefully identify and evaluate McCarthy's play in a way that's more predictive than wins and losses, which just are not. And figure out, like, I hope that we can see, and I hope that the Vikings can see that, although I don't really trust them to evaluate their own players at all. So whatever they do at quarterback is probably going to be influenced a lot by these last few games. I think McCarthy playing poorly would do more damage than him playing well would do a benefit to him, though.
I want to go ahead, Arif, and then I've got a revisionist history note.
Okay, sure. So just to that effect, I think that you would need to do a traits-based analysis for how McCarthy played. I don't think the numbers by themselves are going to do. This is like Mr. Egghead speaking. I don't think the numbers by themselves are going to do a lot to tell you. Like, is he looking off safeties? Is he going through?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
How is he handling pressure? That kind of stuff. Like, you would need to take a look at the qualities that you tend to see in high-level quarterbacks. See if he embodies those qualities more than is his EPA per drop back really high.
Rodgers in 2008 finished 2-5, and I wonder if you're thinking of the 2009 Rodgers, because that Rodgers finished that season 7-1 after a very slow start, 14 TDs, 2 picks. They made the playoffs and lost in that shootout with Arizona.
Maybe
I
I'm
believe.
misremembering that.
He remember a ton of Rodgers hype that felt unearned, but that was
in losing efforts, right? Like, so they did lose.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That it's like he's
2-5 to finish, but he did play pretty well. 15-8 TD to interception ratio. Average yards per attempt 7.7 is pretty explosive. Showed some mobility. Like there definitely was something there in the defeats, but I feel like the inevitability of Rodgers came around the end of that second year when he just went crazy and they made the playoffs, almost won a game on the road. That would be the hope that your year 2 could end that way for McCarthy, even if he starts pretty slowly. I think we have to be careful and remember that progress is just not linear in these cases. It's not going to pick up where it left off necessarily.
Right. You don't sim from week 18 to 1 year to week 1 the next.
Yeah. He'll be a different person, hopefully a better quarterback by then, but a different person for better or for worse.
Totally different group of people around him, different scheme stuff.
Yeah. All right, we've reached a big moment in the show. Luke Inman's internet has failed him. You can leave your jokes in the comments. We have to update people. If you missed Monday, big weekend for yours truly. Notched a $13,000 parlay win to literally make up the deficit. I'm still behind, but I made up most of the deficit. Luke Braun sits in the lead with $699. Arif Hasan has $418. I am negative $121. Remember, we started with a mythical 1,000. Luke Inman is in the hole, $12,000. He's got to get his bets in later.
Right. So let this be a lesson to everybody watching, especially the children. The more you're losing, the bigger the parlays you have to lay down. But just keep pounding them, and you'll get back to even, kind of.
Yeah, you'll hit one.
If you have enough bankroll, and in our case, it is limitless, you can make your way back. We have
if money is no object, you should take it all to the casino.
When it's Monopoly money, you should go big or go home. We have minimum bet ranges, medium bet ranges, and max bet ranges. I have exhausted all my mediums and maxes. I only have minimums left. The minimum range this week is 160 because it's week 16, 160 to 640. And I bet first because Inman is gone. So another reason you can be mad at Inman. I get the first crack at this. JJ McCarthy's completions over-under is 16.5. He has only exceeded that one time this year in the Baltimore game where he was forced to throw 42 times.
42 times, yeah.
The Giants' run defense is so porous that it should be a really good day to run the football as opposed to throw. I'm taking the McCarthy under on completions at -122 for $300.
I don't feel particularly compelled to figure out which bets I should game because Luke is not here and Braun is always just doing the jinx bets. But I'll play the game anyway. I'm getting in early on Justin Jefferson over. He's hurt me, I think, 3 weeks in a row now. Well, I think one of those weeks I didn't take him. But the target numbers are so compelling. They're so compelling. At some point, so I assume, so we don't necessarily have all the numbers yet. I assume it'll be like 58, 59, 60 yards, something like that. And if it's in that range, I'll take the over. If we're over 65, I'll submit an alternative bet by Sunday morning. But I think it's going to be around 60, probably a little bit under 60. And I'm going to take the over on that. And for that, I've got one medium bet remaining. I will use that. The minimum.
At what amount? 640.
Yeah.
600 medium range is 640 to 1120. Arif has only minimums left from this point on. Braun has 4 minimums, 2 mediums left, and he makes 2 bets right now.
First I'll go with a JJ McCarthy interception is at -135. That's a nice conservative one. I'll put one of my remaining mediums on it for a 640.
Okay.
Nice and safe. Gotta have one of those. And then, Vikings are favored on the road. You know what that means I gotta do. It's money line time, baby. New York Giants money line +130. And I will use a minimum bet on that for $639.99.
Quite the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. Arif
Very
Hasan.
different from my 640 bet. That's a medium.
Yeah, of course.
World's different.
I'm taking Vikings first drive touchdown +230. That's been happening at a reasonable clip, I think. And so I think +230 are generally good odds, and I'm going to take the minimum at 160.
I had similar thinking because didn't the Vikings opt to receive in the last game, which is a little peculiar.
Yeah, they've been opting to receive.
Last time they won, yeah.
Yeah, they've been opting to receive like since not since McCarthy came back, but like very shortly after McCarthy came back. They've been opting to receive, or they've been losing coin tosses and have been receiving.
Yeah, now it didn't go well when they received last game. They threw an interception right away. But if they are likely to get the ball first, because I assume the Giants would defer, I am taking the Vikings to score first and win at +142. I will put another $300 on that. And we are locked in.
Who's the one who said that? We're going to take the ball. We're going to win the game.
Matt Hasselbeck.
There we go. Look at that.
And then he threw it right to Al Harris. And Al
He
Harris
said, "We want the ball and we're going to
We're going to
score.
score.
He
we're going to
did score.
And he did score.
Yeah.
Epic coin toss moment. Fail. A party foul.
Party foul.
As it were. Yeah.
Nonetheless, epic. We appreciate everybody who watches, listens, comments, and subscribes here on the Vikings Squad Show here on the #1 sports podcast network. That's Arif Hasan. Check out his work at Wide Left. Check out Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun. Really appreciate everybody who tuned in today. Back for more on Monday. Right? Check that on Sunday after the game. I'll be hosting that one. Arif, you want to come around as well? Why don't you join us?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Live invite.
Great.
We'll talk to you on Sunday, folks, on the Squad Show.